Hello, friends. Welcome back to English Classes Online. My name is Benjamin, and in today's lesson, we are going to look at how to score high in the IELTS Speaking Part 1. If you are new to this channel, kindly subscribe to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Make sure you click on the bell icon as well, so that whenever a new video is uploaded on this channel, you will be instantly notified. Without much ado, let's dive into the lesson. The IELTS speaking test at a glance. You know, in this IELTS speaking exam, part of the exam, you will be made to have a discussion with a certified examiner. It is usually an interactive discussion, and it is always made to appear as a real life situation as much as possible. All right. So now the IELTS speaking test is in 3 parts. As you can see on the screen, in part 1, you will answer questions about yourself and your family. In part 2, you will speak about a topic. In part 3, you will have a longer discussion about the topic introduced in part 2. All right, so that is the entire IELTS speaking test. But today our focus is on part 1. Now, IELTS speaking task 1, of course, you know that the IELTS speaking part is for all persons, whether you are taking the general or the academic IELTS exam. The same questions are given to everyone. And part 1 is usually brief. It lasts for 4 to 5 minutes. Now, what are you going to expect in this particular part 1? First of all, the examiner is going to introduce himself or herself, and then you will also be required to introduce yourself. For example, if I am, sitting the exam or taking the test, I can say, hi, my name is Benjamin. Nice to meet you. All right. So it's a simple introduction you are expected to make. And thereafter, the examiner is going to ask you some questions about yourself. You need to feel free and you need to have confidence, because he's going to ask you about certain topics that are not really far-fetched, because there are things about you, such as your hometown, your neighborhood, your work, your study, your family and friends, food, hobbies, sports, and so on and so forth. The examiner will pick 2 of these topics and talk to you about them. All right. So that is exactly what you ought to know. The information you are required to give is not something far-fetched, so you need to relax. But what is really important is, how you present the information, how you present your answers. Now, before we go into that, I want us to look at the common topics in IELTS speaking. You need to be conversant with the various topics, all right? And you can see the examiner can ask you questions about your work, study, hometown, neighborhood, home, hobbies, friends, birthdays, childhood, sports, clothes, daily routine, family and friends, of course, food, flowers, computers, dictionaries, shopping, evenings, internet, music, pets, happiness, going out, weather, TV, newspapers, reading, leisure time, and transport. You know, quite a wide range of topics. All right, so now the speaking test part one, there are common questions, all right, that you should expect. Okay, and of course, I want you to understand that it is not just about, you know, the information you provide. It is how you provide them. It is how you use correct English to express your ideas. That is what IELTS speaking test is about. It is aimed at testing your use of English, how proficient you are in your use of English, how you can speak well, how you can articulate the English sounds correctly, how you can convey meaning by using the various aspects of the English phonology. It is all about speaking, all right? Now, for example, the examiner can say, let's talk about your hometown or village. What kind of place is it? All right? So it's a very simple thing. You can simply mention, just describe your town or your village, you know, what kind of place it is. But what is important, there are various things that the examiner will be looking at. We are going to discuss that specifically. So, but these are the kinds of questions. What kind of place is it? What's the most interesting part of your town or village? What kind of jobs do the people in your town or village do? Would you say it's a good place to live? Why? All right, so these are common questions. Then let's move on to talk about accommodation. You know, the place, the kind of apartment you live in or something. All right. Tell me about the kind of accommodation you live in. How long have you lived there? What do you like about living there? What sort of accommodation would you like, would you most like to live in? You know, these are simple questions about where you live or where you desire to live. You know, so these are simple questions, but I'm going to show you exactly, these are the parameters for assessing your answers. Of course, as an educated person, and even just as an adult, you can talk about your village or your town. You can talk about your family. These are, you know, things concerning you, not concerning someone else. So you can talk about them. But what is important is how you talk about them. So these are the parameters that, you know, IELTS will use to assess your answers to the questions the examiner will put forth to you. Now, the first is pronunciation, all right? Now, when you provide answers to the questions, the examiner is listening. He wants to know how intelligible your speech is. Can someone understand what you are saying clearly? I mean, do you articulate the English sound? Do you pronounce the words correctly? Do you use the correct intonation patterns? All right. So these are the things that the examiner will be looking at. Then the second is fluency. All right. How effortlessly do you speak? All right. And to what extent does your speech flow with rhythm and without hesitating with you know, so your speech should flow effortlessly. You should show that you have a full command of the language and that you can express your ideas freely without, you know, without getting to a halt, all right, without experiencing some difficulties. So your language should flow naturally. You know, as water flows naturally from its source, so your words should flow. All right. So that is about fluency. And when you actually, when you are talking about something that you know and something that, you know, you can really talk about, I mean, if it is clear that you have a full command of your language, I mean, you should be able to use transition words, all right? Such as first of all, or in the first place to start with, moreover, furthermore, you know, finally, or another interesting thing, you know, use words that, you know, organize your ideas. Excuse me. All right, so the examiner is interested in how fluent you are when you speak. So you need to practice a lot if you are preparing for your IELTS speaking test. You need to practice. Maybe you present in front of a mirror, or you get someone to actually supervise your presentation, and then you practice, practice, practice. You know, practice makes perfect. That is really very important. You need to achieve a degree of fluency before you really go in for your IELTS test. This will ensure that you score high, because the examiner is going to score you, you know, according to your degree of fluency. That's very important. Okay. Now, if you are talking about your hometown, for instance, what kind of place is it? You can say, well, if I'm talking about it, it's a small village in Enugu State. It's about 30 kilometers from Nsukka, the town where we have the University of Nigeria. You know, just, you don't have to give too much information, but you also don't have to give your information in a very short or brief manner. You have to be in the middle, somewhere in the middle, all right? But the important thing is for you to give your information in very clear, you know, intelligible language. You have to be eloquent, you have to be fluent, and this is what is expected, all right? Now, the examiner may put a question to you, where are you from? I am from Enugu. It's one of the states in eastern Nigeria. It is called the coal city because of its rich deposits in coal, or its rich coal deposits, you know? Now, that's a way of expanding your answer. You know, it shouldn't be too short. I am from Enugu, full stop. You know, you go a little further, and that will also give you the opportunity to be able to express your ideas in good English. This should be your aim whenever responding to the examiner's answers. You don't have to overdo it, but you have to be polite, you have to be friendly, you have to actually present your answers in well-spoken English, all right? Now, you need to understand that the questions themselves are not difficult. They are things about yourself, and so you know them, Only you need to articulate your ideas, organize them, and present them in good English. That is all that the examiner is looking for. Now, talking about the parameters, the third one is the vocabulary. Sorry. Now, the vocabulary has to do with the words you are using. You know, how well do you use a variety of meaningful English words, and how do you use them in their appropriate places? You know, talking about different fields of life, every given field of life has its associated words or terms and terminologies. When you are talking about sports, there are words associated with sports. If you are talking about computers, there are words that are relevant to computers. So this is very important. When you are talking about science and technology, when you are talking about art, when you are talking about music, when you are talking about football, every field of life has its own unique language. If you are talking about food, you know, you asked about your favorite dish or meal. You know, there are, various words you can use to talk about your favorite food. So your choice of words is very important because the examiner wants to know how well you can put proper words in proper places. All right? And this is very, very important. So it is important that you don't keep using low-level words that may sound monotonous or archaic, all right? Like using good and bad and all that. There are words you need to use. You need to use a variety of words, to replace some words that may be considered to be cliches. So it's very, very important. The examiner is looking at all these. Now, the fourth one is grammar. In grammar, the examiner wants to know when you have the ability to construct correct sentences, to make correct sentences. When we write in sentences. When we speak in sentences. So it is very important for you to know that a sentence is a group of words that expresses a complete thought. So when you express your ideas, make sure you express them in complete sentences. All right? Then another thing the examiner will be interested in is how you use your tenses. Of course, you break the rules of grammar if you use present tenses to talk about past events, or you use past tenses to talk about present events. All right? So it's really very important that you know how to use the correct tenses. This is very important. Okay? Now, let's look at the do's and don'ts for scoring high in the test. There are certain things you are expected, to pay attention to, and one of them is to exhibit confidence while answering questions. You need to have confidence, not only in the IELTS test, but in everything you do. If you want to achieve good results, you must believe that you can do it. If you don't believe you can do it, then probably you won't be able to do it well enough. So first of all, you need to have this confidence in your ability to say the right thing, the correct things in the IELTS. After all, a language is a medium of communication, and you are only going in there to communicate your idea, express your thoughts, express your idea. They are your own ideas, and you have a good command of the language. So there's really nothing lacking. Have the confidence that you will be able to do the right thing. Do not uh, allow inferiority complex to weigh you down. So when you are before the examiner, don't begin to look at the floor or feel shy or see yourself as someone who cannot do it. No, maintain an eye contact with the examiner and speak boldly yet politely. All right, very important. So you need to be confident, you need to speak boldly yet politely. You need to maintain eye contact with the examiner. Do not feel shy or timid or start looking at the floor. All right. So these are the do's and don'ts. Okay. Now, the second thing is that you need to be friendly. Of course, it's very important. You know, this interpersonal relationship is very important. You need to understand that uh, when you are in a conversation with someone, your 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 appearance, your disposition, how you look at the person, how you speak, you need to exude some measure of friendliness. You need to be appear, smile. All right. Don't. It's not a war. You are not going there to fight with the examiner. So you need to be really friendly. Anytime you want to gain a favor from someone, you need to present yourself friendly as well. And of course, the examiner is one person who has the power to say you have done well or you have done badly. All right? He or she has the power to award you scores. And one of the things that is going to really influence his or her willingness to award you marks generously is how you interact with him or her. If you appear like someone who is hostile, of course, one good thing deserves another. If you smile, then someone whom you are discussing with, a smile begets another smile. A frown is also likely to beget another frown. And when you smile, you feel good. So when you smile and the examiner sees it, the examiner smiles likely, in return. And the examiner, even if the examiner doesn't return your smile, within him or her, they feel good about it. So be friendly. Even in your use of words, be friendly. When talking about your hobbies, for instance, you need to show excitement, right? Maybe you are asked, what is your favorite sports? All right? Or which kind of sports do you like? Now, you need to feel excited. If you are speaking about something you really enjoy doing, the person listening to you will actually confirm, from the way in which you present your words. There should be excitement in your voice, all right, when you speak about something you enjoy. Oh, I really enjoy watching football. I really enjoy playing table tennis. I really enjoy this or that. Then you go further to talk about it, in the middle, as I said, not too much, not too brief, not too long, not too short. All right. But you need to feel excited about it. And it is that excitement in your tone, all right, that enthusiasm that will also contribute to winning more marks. Now, number 4, use appropriate vocabulary. Right? We have talked about vocabulary, and here again is one of the do's. Use appropriate vocabulary. Don't use irrelevant words. You know, when talking about sports, learn to use the right words, all right? For example, when you talk about football, it is playing football, all right? You play football. If it is a race, you run in a race. You know, use the appropriate words. These are very simple words, but you need to use the appropriate words. If you are talking about cooking, there are words that you should use that actually belong to the vocabulary of cooking. All right. If you are talking about different types of meals, then you use the appropriate words to talk about meals. All right. And so on and so forth. So using the appropriate vocabulary is very, very important. Now, do not ever say, I don't know. You know, these are questions about you. You cannot say, I don't know my village or I don't know my hometown. That will create a very poor impression of who you are. Don't ever say, I don't know. Even if you don't know, try to invent something. Just say something as much as you know. The important thing is really not the correctness of the pieces of information you give or the incorrectness, you know, the truthfulness and so on. It has to do with your correct use of English, all right? Now, you have to use the appropriate vocabulary, and you should avoid repeating certain words. You know, if the examiner uses a particular word in asking a question, do not repeat that word. Try to use a synonym, a word the word nearest in meaning to that. For example, if the examiner wants you to talk about what kind of sports you like, you do not come up with, I like football. You can say, I really enjoy playing football, you know, or if you are asked, what is your favorite music? You do not come up to say, my favorite music is this. No, you can say the music I enjoy most is this. So you use you know, variety of words to really show that you have a large active vocabulary. And that is what proficiency in the use of a language is really all about. Okay? So as I already mentioned, avoid extremely short answers, but you also don't need to make your answers unnecessarily long. You have to find a middle position. You need to expand your answers, but you don't have to overdo it. Okay? So these are the do's and don'ts, and you must avoid digressing from the topic. If you are asked about a particular topic, stick to that topic. Don't digress from that topic and start talking about irrelevant things. No, even because of time, you need to manage your time very well. You know, the IELTS test is not a place to tell a cock and bull story. You need to give precise answers. But what is important is your correct use of the language. All right. So these are the tips and techniques that I can share with you so far in this video. This is where we are going to draw the curtain in today's video. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you did enjoy the lesson, don't forget to like the video and share it with your friends and relations. Now we have been discussing the IELTS speaking, how to score high in speaking test 1. All right, so this is really one particular video that I can call part 1 in the IELTS speaking series. So we are going to also come up with a video to show you how to score high in IELTS speaking task 2. All right. Now, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, this is the appropriate time for you to hit the subscribe button and make sure you click on the bell icon as well, so that whenever a new video is uploaded on the channel, you will be notified instantly. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, leave them in the comments box below. I want to thank you for being part of today's episode. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Goodbye for now and remain blessed.